My name is Christopher, and this is my best friend, Beth, Sir Morgan of Arc. Proud to be squiring to this majestic human that does great things on these beautiful animals.
Yeah.
You can't have a Renaissance fair without a joust. That's like the cherry on top of the event. It's exciting. And I'm very happy to be with these guys because they really joust. They actually hold the shield and hold the lance and hit for real. It's not the fake stuff or trickeries of other shows.
It is fun to hit the other night as hard as I want to.
But this is as real, as close to real as it gets.
Yeah.
And even though it's choreographed, it's still really dangerous because, you know, a horse missteps or trips or something, it could be, you know, dangerous.
It can be.
How long have you both been involved with this?
This will be 35 years for me.
This will be, now you're making me do math. It's about 20 years for me.
20 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what got you both interested in it initially?
I always liked knights when I was a little kid, and I loved sword fighting stuff. So when I had the opportunity to be part of a Renaissance fair, I just soaked up everything that I could to make myself a better performer. I took stage combat classes in New York City. I certified in every single weapon imaginable. I worked on my improv skills. I wanted to play the Sheriff of Nottingham. I got that role. I kept it for 28 years.
Why did you pick Nottingham, of all people?
Well, I think I always look like a bad guy. I sound like a bad guy. I'm better at being a bad guy than a good guy because I'm really a really good person. And I don't have the ego that would make me be it's not like, ooh, like I'm the sheriff. It was more like I have more ways to go as an actor, more better choices and have the snappy comebacks. And, you know, you can't really be a jerk. You know, I want the people to think that I'm like more crazier than I would be evil, or else, you know, that's not entertainment. So, yeah, I gravitate towards the bad guys. They're more interesting. I think I would be bored to be a good guy. Boring. Nah. Plus, I die really good in front of thousands of people.
Quality down.
You do die well.
And I love horses. And, you know, getting a chance to ride horses, you know, and learn how to joust was a really great learning experience. You know, it doesn't take like a week. It takes a long time to get the skills to be able to put on a show like this. So,
Yeah.
and that's why you see like older people doing it, because a lot of people don't have the patience to put the time in, because before any joust stuff, you have to have control of the horse, and you got to be able to be one with your horse and ride a horse, because that's your partner. You know, he's not a tool. The tools are what you have in your hands. That's your teammate. You have to be in sync with your horse. You right?
Oh yeah, you can be a great knight. If your horse doesn't cooperate, it'll make you look like a clown.
Yeah, the last thing
They
you
can
need to worry
really-
about is swords and lances and shields and helmets and armor. You got to have the horse stuff down before anything.
Yeah.
And so, Morgan, what got you started?
I was at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair working on the horses. I do farrier work, and I was introduced to the knights and the current owners of Round Table Productions, who I work for today, and they asked me if I wanted to learn how to joust, and said yes. I had horses, and I already knew how to ride, so that was half the battle. I didn't take all those wonderful classes that Chris took, but being a rider and then learning how to joust, it wasn't that hard. It's harder for a fighter to learn to joust, because first they have to learn to ride. So it was kind of, I got introduced there, and Round Table Productions picked me up as a junior knight, I guess, and I've been with them now for 20 years.
All right. So what was it like when you both started? Were like Renaissance fairs popular like they are today? was big crowds of people where they...
Oh, yeah.
I would think more popular.
More popular then. Because
Yeah.
There's a lot more. I mean, when you think about it, 35 years ago, there was less stuff that's out here now. Like escape games didn't exist, and all this other stuff. That's.
I've also seen
Big
the young.
entertainment.
There was more young people. We had people wanting to squire and to
Yes.
learn, and now squiring is work, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
caring for the horses. It's shoveling poop and brushing the horses
Running
and bathing
around,
them, and
making sure your knight has all the armor on right.
young people today don't want to do that as much. It's harder to find people that want to come up through the ranks. You have to be a squire before you're a knight. You have to learn about the whole process. It's not just sitting on a horse with a stick. It's all of the care behind the scenes of the horses and the equipment. And to learn the job, you need to be a squire first. And it's a lot of work for very little pay. And so we're finding it harder to find qualified people that are interested enough to put the work in to move up. So I'd say the crowds, although they've been fantastic, I don't think we have as many people going to Renaissance fairs today as we did 20, 30 years ago.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it was you couldn't like joust on Easter. I think I know a lot about knights. My favorite knight, Sir Marks Walther, used to have a sausage on 3 sausages on a spike on his helmet. When all these other knights had these fancy, huge things. And one time, I told you about him. He rode out with a small child on the tip of his lance, and it was rigged, so he wasn't really holding it. I have no idea how this worked. And that poor horse with this crazy weight of a little kid on a lance, but he rode out with the little kid with rose petals, because it was more like a show of just seeing the knight. And in those days, that was they were the rock stars of the Middle Ages, because they were popular. People wanted to be them. People wanted to be around them.
Well, they were nobles too.
And of course, they were young guys, so they were pretty much jerks. And they would drink you out of house and home, eat you out of house and home, and you know what, out of house and home too. So they were jerks. That's probably why during the knighting ceremony they got smacked. Because that was the last part of being knighted. You get smacked across the face. Seriously. Yeah.
You guys still do that to this day?
I want to sometimes.
Well, the
And I'm sure
knighting
they want
ceremony with the round table, they take us to a pile of manure. And Rob, one of the owners, he's a pretty big guy, and he slams you on the shoulder and kneels you in the horse manure. And the first thing he says is, "You will never forget where you came from."
Yeah. Which
And
is
then
very, very
he goes
cool.
through a very poetic sermon of your rights and responsibilities as a knight, and knights you with the sword, and then he did not hit me that hard, but yes, you will get a smack. Just, again, to make sure that you understand your place and your rights and your responsibilities, and he doesn't want you to forget where you came from, because he wants you to treat the other knights and the squires just as well as you did before. You're not above them. And
I think jousting got a nice little boost from A Knight's Tale when that movie came out. Everybody was like, "Oh, okay."
oh yeah, that probably happened
And then
too.
there was a short-lived idea that this was going to be a sport where there was TV shows. I was even part of filming of one of these TV shows, and all these knights came from all over the place, and nobody was getting knocked off because they were really good. And more equipment was getting busted than anything else. So I don't know what happened to that.
But as far as trying to increase the popular, yes, I do.
Well, I think
like to see the masses increased, and I know owners are doing so much. They're trying to keep the prices down. They try to bring in a variety of vendors and a variety of shows. They're working really hard to try to keep the momentum going so that they can attract a larger audience. And I hope it works.
I was retired from the Renaissance Fair thing. I was done doing the sheriff in New York, and I hung out my boots on my own terms, And then I was taking care of my dad. My dad was really ill, and he passed away. And then Beth said, hey, come to Maine and be my squire. And I'm like, I was depressed, and I wanted to be around. Like, I used to own that horse a long time ago, and I love banjo, and I love Beth. So I came up here, and then it's the energy of this place and the people that put on this show that made me fall in love with Renaissance fairs again.
Yeah.
Because New York lost that energy. And you're there for so many years, you don't notice the energy going beep, 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 backwards. So when I felt the live stuff, like I had a heart attack and they just went push, push, and I got the jolt. So here I am 3 years later at the show. I love the show. It's the energy of the actors and the other people that are here.
They all work
together.
really hard.
That's the magic of a Renaissance fair. No matter, you can have the most beautiful sets, the best parking, the greatest food, but without the energy of the people that populate, and that's vendors, everybody. That's what makes a Renaissance fair. That's the magic right there. So it's really important to take care of the people that support your event, I think, because without us, it's just a mall with Renaissance stuff, evil things, and pirate.
This fair does,
stuff.
They have a full court that accompanies the Queen. The knights, we accompany her when we can, and we walk the streets, we interact with the patrons, and try to get them excited about the joust, and want us to, we give them little trinkets so that they'll cheer for me, and the kids enjoy that. And the more interaction that we have with the patrons, I think they look forward to that. They look forward to coming into a different world, a different realm, and then interacting with the characters that walk around.
And the crowd here really soaks up the energy, and it really soaks up the shows, and a lot of people come dressed up, and Maine is known for its friendly people, and that definitely shows, and it definitely helps. I mean, I love this fair. I'll do this as long as they're doing it, that's for sure.
I just love that line. It's important to remember where you came from, because this is the civilization we all came from. So those types of lessons are important, and I'm guessing it's helped in your own lives.
True.
No, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. No, never forget where you came from.
Absolutely, and it's a team sport. You can't joust alone.
No.
So you've got to, support your compadres and work with them.
How many people are supporting the one person on the horse? How many people are supporting the one person on the horse?
Well, we have
backstage,
usually
it's like
two.
One person does one horse and takes care of one night, but on the fields, we each have an end or a center or something, and everybody kind of like does stuff. We're a well-oiled machine, kind of. That's why I like being with them, because it's like riding a bike.
Out performing, we have knights, we have the MOA, we have squires, and everybody has a hierarchy. When we come back here to care for the horses and take care of the equipment and all, we're all on the same level. We all scoop poop, we all clean armor, we all help each other. We're a team here, and we're performers out there.
And that's another thing about this joust company, because other joust companies kind of like play into the whole idea a little much, and they kind of treat their squires like a servant type thing. That's not how I roll.
Were they servants back then?
Well, they were.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not a slave. I'm a squire. I mean, if I'm asked nice, I'll do anything that my knight wants. But if I'm bossed around or treated like a real lower life form for like someone's ego, that's crap. And other people have reputations for doing that. So, but in the show, on the field, they can do whatever. I mean, I know my place. I'm the comic relief. I'm the rodeo clown, and that's fine. But Beth is very right. When we're back here, everyone's equal, and nobody thinks any less of anything.
You're all buds.
Oh yeah, and everybody picks up horse crap and cleans and makes sure everything's good.
Manure.
Manure. Okay, sorry, but these guys are like the real stars, or them.
Yeah, I can't do a joust without them.
Beth would look really funny riding me. But we, some rain days, that's how it's gone down. when it's too dangerous to ride a horse, have to come up with some creative
We
ways
have
to,
done piggyback jousting.
entertainment.
Piggyback jousting.
We did. Yeah, it was raining and the field was almost a pond, and it was too dangerous to take the horses. So the owners were like, "Give us whatever you can give us," and we were like, "Okay," and we piggyback jousted.
How'd that go?
Not well.
It's just comedy.
It didn't go well.
It's all comedy at that
But
point.
we will.
People are diehards. They don't want to leave,
know,
so you
but-
got to give them something to go
Yeah.
home with.
Connecticut, you weren't with us.
No.
Yeah, we actually had a huge hurricane storm in Connecticut. It was probably 15 years ago. Coolers were floating across the parking lot. It was
Wow.
pouring. It was horrible. And everybody's shutting down. And our thing is, if it's not thunder and lightning, we will joust. And it was pouring. And we look out at the joust field, and there's 3 people, 3, sitting there with trash bags over their heads, chanting, "We're here to support the joust." And I was like, "If we give you beer, will you go home?"
I think they already had enough.
They got a trotting joust because it was too dangerous to canter the horses. So we went out there and we gave them about a 10-minute show because they were there. I think that's the smallest audience I ever performed for, was 3. But-
you have something in trouble.
Well, we have to be here.
Yeah, we have to be here.
So, but-
I've heard that in the interest.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
want to
Yes.
pimp your crowd though. Before, I'll take some of those out there.
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay.
Alright.
Yes.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, so it's 12 now, so we should probably wrap this
oh,
up.
it's just
Okay.
12?
So
All right.
where will we see you guys after this? After this fair is done, where do you head off to?
Well, for me, this is it. This is the end of my season.
Okay.
I don't know if Sparta? They doing one weekend in
I
Sparta?
don't know. I haven't heard, and you're not, so I didn't care.
No, I'm not doing
And I don't live in
Sparta.
New Jersey anymore.
And they're not doing Coisters.
Wow,
Is
really?
not well, the city won't support it, so we don't have the Coisters show. So
Do they still do
maybe
that? show?
Round Table may show up at Sparta for one weekend, but I don't know when that is. So this is really nice. It's like a mini vacation. Joust the 2 weekends, stay up here in camp, and we stay through the week. It's 13 hours to go home. So
And it's Maine. It's beautiful.
I'm Lancaster County, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So
Alright,
that's-
Well, thank you guys. Is there anything you want to say to the world before you go?
Be
Come see the
kind.
joust
Be nice to each other.
and be kind. That's correct.